I guess to start off with, I'll just talk to the audience directly and say that I know that a lot of people have very strong opinions about this game, and I want people to understand that this is my thoughts on the game. These are not facts about the game, so keep in mind whatever I say is purely my own opinion.
Feel entirely free to completely shit on his opinion, though.
No. Listen, hey, I played the game within the boundaries of the game 99% of the time. And the game let me play the way that I wanted to play. So that's a positive. I was able to fuck around and it worked for me. So it was at least not like a GTA 5 where if you try to fuck around at all, it will just immediately fail you. It's got basically full player freedom, which is a positive and a negative, and I'll get into that later. But I don't like Fallout New Vegas, and I just want to get that out of the way right off the bat.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know. Everybody's going to be like, oh, how dare you? This is because you didn't do all the side content or whatever. When I play a game, I do it at my own pace. And obviously with Cass, I do it at a faster pace than I would do it on my own pace. But I don't like RPGs for the simple fact that when I play a game, I like to have it as a test of skill. So I like games like Doom Eternal, or I mostly play a lot of multiplayer games where the challenge comes from fighting other people, and games where you'll sweat in your seat. I know that's kind of a joke in the gaming community. It's like, oh, sweaty, but like that's the kind of games that I go for. So with Fallout New Vegas, it's a lot more relying on the story, because that's what it is. It's a story-focused game. And I think that Fallout shouldn't really have gone from a top-down game. I understand why they did it, because the first-person genre is incredibly lucrative, and obviously they made a lot of money off of the Fallout series. So I won't say it was a bad decision for them to go to first-person, but I think for how I would have enjoyed this game, I would have enjoyed it a lot more if it was still top-down. While I was playing through, I just kept thinking about Wasteland 3. That's the only Wasteland game I've played, but it sort of felt to me like that was what a modern original Fallout would be, with top-down and gathering teammates, and then fights got into like an XCOM style turn-based grid system. And I say this, that I think Fallout would benefit from that, because I don't believe that Fallout benefits, the game mechanics don't benefit from being in first person. Doing it in first person is a sense of immersion, but everything is so poorly made that it detracts from the experience in every aspect, I think. So walking around the environment looks like garbage. The character models looked like garbage. This game came out in 2010. I know a lot of it was holdover from Fallout 3, which came out years earlier. So I'm not trying to like put the blame on Obsidian, because it's the engine and the assets they had to use. So my criticisms of this here also fall back to Fallout 3. And there is none of the quality of life things the games had introduced up to that point. Like, there's so many weird things. Like, I'm not really sure if weapon wheels were common in the 2010s, but
Not common. I mean, they were around, but not that much.
this game could have benefited from at least a quick weapon swap button. I think there might be one.
I'm pretty sure there is.
I never figured it out because this game's user interface is fucking awful. It takes so long to navigate through the menus, and they're so confusingly laid out that I'll constantly be forgetting what I'm supposed to be looking for.
There's just too much, and there's not really a need to explain it because it's just too much.
They improve it in Fallout 4, and I know that's like a bad word in the Fallout community. It's like, oh, I mentioned Fallout 4 being better than Fallout New Vegas, but let's be honest, mechanical presentation-wise, Fallout 4 was a stronger game than Fallout 3 and New Vegas. It just may not have been as mechanically in-depth as 3 and New Vegas.
It was a lot more on rails, and that completely rallies against the entire point of how people saw Fallout. But going back to the strength in top-down, I was just thinking, especially given the recent resurgence in top-down indie games, obviously that's not indie, but top-down indie games have become increasingly apparent. You have games like Bastion, Transistor, and Hades. Obviously they're way different, but that art style works fucking excellently for having fairly simple mechanics, but relying on story.
Also in that same vein, I fucking love XCOM 2.
Oh yeah, XCOM, Into the Breach.
They've also got Gears Tactics, because you can have like a cinematic experience in these top-down games. You can have little cinematic cameras that come down when you do finishing moves and stuff like that. And it would make a lot more sense for things specifically like aiming. So Fallout New Vegas, aiming is weird as fuck.
And that makes it feel even worse.
It makes it feel awful. So if you put it from a top-down perspective, you don't have direct control over the player when you are in a fight. So it would make sense if your character is missing because you're not the one controlling their aim. You're just telling them where to aim. And so things like VATS make more sense again because now it's like, oh, okay, now I can go in and select immediately what limb I want to do, whereas if I was in first person, I just aim for the head. I don't understand why I need to use VATS most of the time, and I didn't. There was only a couple of times I used VATS as like a joke.
But there's a lot of things that you can nitpick about gameplay mechanics, what should have been better, but granted, it's a game from more than 10 years ago, it's like...
Well, so I disagree with that, right, Austin? Is even though it's a game from 10 years ago, games went into the modern era of shooters in 2001. After Halo, we had a template for what a shooter should be, and New Vegas came out in 2010. So they had 9 years to fix that shit, and I'm not expecting New Vegas to have flipped the whole system on its head because it was not done well in Fallout 3, and that was probably 2006 or 7.
I think I was referencing it more in the way that RPGs as a whole, a lot of the core audience, they just wanted to have their simple games put into something where you feel more in line with the character. And so that's why a lot of that stuff got a pass, because it was way behind everything else from 5 years earlier. But it was an RPG, and it made sales.
And I think that's what gives New Vegas and Skyrim, just Bethesda games in general, like a pass on things.
100%, yeah.
Oh, well, I'll pass on how buggy it is because the story is good. And that's totally fine for a lot of people because obviously story games sell really well and people love the stories to death. And I think the story, from what I remember, because for Cass I ignored most of it, but I have played through New Vegas previously. The story is pretty memorable. There are a lot of memorable side quests, and I remember going through Cass, I was remembering things. It was like, oh, hey, I know this guy. This guy sends me up this little mountain and then tries to betray me, so I'm just going to blow his head off right here. Or, oh, I remember this little side character. She was with the Brotherhood of Steel. She's a voice actress that I know from some television series. Or I remember Mr. House and that he was a dilapidated corpse in a secret bunker wherever. I didn't remember like specifics, but I remembered having done these things previously. And this stands to the strength of the story, is that it's very memorable. I just don't think anything surrounding the story is good.
Yeah, I agree. And I actually just really didn't enjoy it that much. It was the same kind of spark as New Vegas, except that it's just generic. Oh, you're the chosen one. You're going to do good things. And also, I just felt like everything was laid out really awkwardly for maps. And I mean, not that New Vegas is great, but I just didn't get into it. Like, I love playing New Vegas because I like that style of game. And then I tried playing three different times. And each time I got 10, 12 hours in, I was just like, this isn't great.
Speaking of the map, the local map in
oh my god,
New Vegas is fucking terrible.
Yeah, the local map is like reading hieroglyphics. It's like, how do I fucking look at this? It's so low quality.
Yeah, I'll use it to get like an idea of where I need to head, but it will never ever tell me what's the path I actually need to take. Especially because when you're using it inside buildings, there's no way for it to really tell what floor you're on. So it's just really fucking bad. And just the menu in general, like you said, you didn't like how much there was of it. And I think that's something that just kind of carries over into a lot of Bethesda games, is that everything you need is in one menu, which makes it really annoying to navigate. Oh no, I've taken damage, so let me open up the menu. Let me go to items, let me go to aid, and now let me scroll down until I find my stim pack. Versus other games would have a quick button to the healing items, or they'd have one button for healing.
I'd way rather have the option to like steal health from killing enemies or something. I've never liked games where it's just like, oh yeah, pause the game, eat 3,000 cheese wheels, and then you are good.
I mean, if you don't like that, you can try New Vegas's hard mode, which is...
Don't even talk to me about adding more survival elements to it.
None of the mechanics are memorable, and so it's just this generic gray kind of ugly look thing. You have Fallout 3, which is generic gray ugly looking thing.
Generic
and then you have Fallout New
green.
Vegas, which is generic gray ugly looking thing with incredibly good story that's super memorable and really interesting.
Yeah.
So you can imagine why it's remembered.
Fallout 4 I haven't played, but I've seen some screenshots and it looks fine. It's not graphically groundbreaking.
Fallout 4 has more color, but it's still ugly because it's got a bad art direction. That's another thing which I think is a bit of a controversial opinion, is I don't think Fallout has strong art direction. Obviously, graphics don't make a game, but if your graphics are ugly, that detracts from a game, and they didn't try to work with the strengths of the limitations that they had. They just tried to make it Fallout. So there's so many ugly textures that look really low quality, and obviously all the sort of one-coloredness of everything, and people look weird because they're supposed to look realistic, but they instead look kind of creepy, cartoony, and it just doesn't work. And so the best stuff in Fallout visually is the stuff that is more stylized, whether it be some of the technology or
Like the power armor?
I was going to say power armor. Yeah.
the power armor or the Nightkin look pretty good. They've got a better art direction to them than regular humans. And obviously Fallout's meant to be gritty, but you can have like a stylized gritty game. They weren't able to achieve that, I don't think.
And like
Yeah,
Death Claws,
something-
everyone remembers those because they look terrifying.
Yeah.
They're interesting.
I mean, one of the things that especially bothered me, even kind of from both the lore and art design direction, was how like all the urban areas look like the bombs just fell. When like there's been at least a couple hundred years, and humans would, even if they wouldn't be able to fix everything, like I don't expect a bombed out overpass to be fixed anytime soon. They would at least clear the rubble away. Like I grew up in a Southeast Asian country, and like it wasn't a poor country by any means. It was about, moderately wealthy. But like somebody like abandoned their car by the side of the street once, and I remember for 3 months that got stripped to pieces before it was completely gone. And what I really didn't understand was, okay, it's the post-apocalypse. Why are there still cars on the highway? People would have absolutely stripped these things for parts.
Cars with intact nuclear engines, which you'd think would be a very big commodity in the wasteland because a nuclear engine could power a ton of shit.
But then all the food just sitting on people's counters still. Has not a single one of these terrible people is looting past them. They're willing to murder, but like, no, you can't loot somebody's house.
Yeah, I think part of it, at least in New Vegas's case, is 18 months to make the game. So they had to borrow a lot of assets from Fallout 3. But even then, looking at the concept art, you can definitely tell that time, I think, was the biggest problem for New Vegas. That's why there's so many bugs and all that. I'm not going to say they would have been able to fix everything, even if they had more time. There's always bugs in Bethesda games.
Would have just been development hell. I don't think it would have really helped.
It makes me interested to see how Outer Worlds ended up, because I've watched like a little bit of gameplay, but I haven't played it. So it would be interesting to see how they made a game on their own terms and what is different between that and New Vegas.
The bugs, though, I really enjoy New Vegas's story, but the technical issues with this entire game are what prevent me from calling it a favorite, because this thing crashes on me every 2 hours. Fallout New Vegas is normally with most Bethesda games, you can go in and you can install your own fan patch. Like I was talking to a friend about installing some mods, mostly to improve graphics, because I hadn't quite realized how bad the technical issues were. And he sent me a 3-hour-long playlist and told me to watch the entire thing before I even thought about doing anything in regards to modding New Vegas. If you look at New Vegas the wrong way, it's going to crash.
So when I started New Vegas, I did it through Steam, but at one point the game broke and it crashed. Crashes are expected. I don't think that you should be able to excuse a game with how many crashes this game has, but whatever. So I was going back into it and then it would just hitch and get stuck at a load screen. So I had to uninstall it from Steam and re-download it through GOG before it would actually function again. And that is the point where I would have just given up if I was playing by myself, because if your game becomes literally unplayable, I'm just going to throw it away. I don't give a shit how good it was. Story-wise is hard to talk about because obviously there are so many different ways to approach the story, and part of what people really, really enjoy about this game is the complete player freedom in how you approach the story, where personally I'm not such a huge fan of having absolutely no structure to what you have to do. I would much rather play a linear game with a good structure that is fun because the developers meticulously crafted an experience that I can play versus an open world game where they just built an open world and we're like, the player can kind of find their way around and do it however they want. Because, like, obviously, people enjoy that. So I know that's a differing opinion. But if I can just make a beeline to the end of the game and then just do it because I was powerful enough right off the bat pretty much to just, like, kill people when I needed to. There was only one instance where I wasn't able to beat a boss.
2.
Was it 2 instances?
There were 2. Deathclaws and Lanius.
Well, the Deathclaws are not a required boss, right? You don't have to kill Deathclaws to progress.
Yeah, that's true.
It was only the Caesar's Legion guy, and even then, that was like 2 minutes before the end of the game. At that point, it was too late to turn back, and there was no way to turn back unless I were to reload a save from like an hour earlier, and that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, the game doesn't really. I guess Lanius is the closest thing that comes to a boss in the entire game. Because even when I played New Vegas, like if you go against the NCR, they're basically pushovers. I mean, there's a story reason for why they're so weak, but the NCR is really not a threat.
There was also, going into the game, I know there's different factions that you can choose from, and I knew I wasn't going to choose Caesar's Legion because they're basically Nazis. They're like straight up Nazis. And I didn't know much about the NCR, but from what I gathered, they were kind of like a totalitarian regime kind of thing.
They're America, like, and I mean that like in
Yes.
both the good and the bad.
Yes.
The government is apparently super corrupt. There's rich cattle ranchers who effectively control a lot of government interests. They're very war hawkish, but they are a democracy. Women and men have the same amount of rights, etc.
And then the third option was Mr. House, who is just a fucking asshole, so I wasn't gonna go with him. So my option left was Independent, which was Yes Man, who is just a robot that says he'll do whatever I want.
Independent is generally the most open-ended option. It can either go like really well or really terrible.
Honestly, it seemed like a good enough ending to me. There were a couple of choices I had made that affected small parts of the ending, but on the whole, had freed New Vegas of the grip of any like one tyrannical government force. And so I felt like kind of a good enough guy. And so like, I don't know how I would have felt picking any of those other things, because the factions all kind of suck. And I don't know what they're going for, because it's not like there's enough sympathy for one specific side that I would want to pick them over. It's just like, do you want this aesthetic? No, then don't pick it. The only reason I would have ever picked the NCR would have been for their cool armor, and that would have been it. I wouldn't have picked them on my own.
Yeah, I mean, part of that is maybe due down to how you play games, but for me, there's a pretty legitimate discussion between at least three of the options. The Legion are, I know you said they're Nazis, but like, if you go and talk to, not Kaiser, but like his subordinates, you can actually find out there's a lot of, and I'm not saying they're not the bad guys, they're still the bad guys, very much so, but there's a lot of interesting backstory behind the Legion and how they function. They're basically like assimilated tribes that Kaiser conquered, and all of them think the Legion did them a favor by like crushing out their culture and basically forcing them to assimilate and become part of the Legion. But there's a legitimate discussion between NCR, Mr. House, and Independent. It's a pretty long debate. People are still arguing on the internet over which option is best. No one except shitheads think the Legion is the best option, but you go with the NCR, well, they bring rule of law, you get incorporated into a larger territory, which brings up some pretty big strengths. But it also means you also have to contend with the fact that a lot of people don't want to be part of the NCR. You can go with Mr. House, but then you realize that Mr. House only really cares about New Vegas and not much else. He doesn't want Kaiser's Legion to win because that would be really bad, but he also doesn't really want NCR to win. He just wants them both to kind of continue where they are and keep spending money at his place, which is, very, I guess, libertarian, I guess. And then you have the independent option, and that one's really open-ended, so a lot of people just kind of assume the best of it. I think Mr. House is an idiot.
Also, Mr. House doesn't taste very good.
Yeah.
I ate Mr. House in my playthrough. I was a cannibal. I really wanted to eat Caesar, but he like disappeared. I don't know where he ended up.
He didn't disappear. He's still in camp the entire game. I have tried to kill Kaiser, and it is ridiculously hard because all his guards are there, and they will make mincemeat out of you.
I really agree about Mr. House being like very much technocratic. He just wants a grip on everyone else. Libertarian is kind of like a weird way to word it. Like technocratic is a good
technocratic is probably better. But even then, like, he doesn't want control of all of New Vegas. He just wants control of the strip. But also going into the RPG elements and like eating people, like I was really impressed because I know the game, it'll respond to you in different ways based on what actions you've done. And also when you approached Lanius, the first time you approached him, I forget what you were wearing, but like you made a comment about how you were dressed in the uniform of the bear. The second time you went up to him, you were dressed up as a Roman legionary. He was like, oh, you're coming to me wearing stolen armor, disguising yourself as one of us. How dare you? And I was like, oh, hey, that's a really neat detail. I didn't realize they would respond to you based on what you're wearing. varying to that extent. Usually it's just like if you're wearing Legion armor and you go into NCR territory, they're going to shoot at you. If you wear NCR armor and you go into Legion territory, they'll shoot at you. But there's also stuff like if you play as a woman in the game, the Legion are even bigger assholes to you because the Legion's just assholes, but if you're a woman, they decide to be worse. And so with that kind of customization, part of the reason why people have spent thousands of hours in this game, because they're trying to find all the different possible interactions and outcomes that can happen in the game.
Also, the Brotherhood of Steel shows up and they're basically just homophobes, so I blew them up.
I don't think that came up during your playthrough, but yeah, they are homophobes.
There was a little bit of it, I think.
They were definitely mean to Veronica, I think.
And Veronica at least mentioned that was her experience with them.
Yeah,
no, like
that's
largely with the whole like interactions and stuff, that had been such a long-standing staple in RPGs, especially in old-style isometric RPGs and stuff. That was always a thing of you have to have at least major characters respond to seeing armor they like or hate. Yeah, it's still cool, but it's also like should be expected at that point.
When everyone in the game does that, I think it's pretty neat.
Well, it's not everyone, it's very few people. Yeah.
Well, so also there was when a lot of RPGs made the jump from traditional RPG genres of turn-based stuff, top-down stuff, to first-person, I think a lot of RPGs suffered with losing a lot of mechanics because either they tried to incorporate a lot of FPS mechanics or they just didn't have the development time to go with all of RPG stuff. So having those interactions in a 3D RPG at that era was unique again because they had to stop doing that at some point because of the amount of time it took, which again I think would have benefited if they had done a top-down thing because that takes less development time for the gameplay mechanics. But that's a heavily opinionated opinion. I could talk about, for Cass, I didn't want to just beeline to the end of the game. I wanted to actually do sort of a natural mission progression up to the end. And so I followed a couple of basic missions of like finding people to find more information about Benny and like where I should go. And I'd gotten to the point where I was talking to the glowing one and his cult, which I can't remember the name of. And, that's a fun mission. It ends with them going into a rocket and decide whether or not to sabotage them. I remember that from my first playthrough because I had done that. But there was a point where after all of it was mostly self-contained within the structure, they were like, oh, we need you to get some fuel or whatever, and to do that you have to go some towns over, grab some arbitrary amounts of items, and then come back. And so at that point when I left the area, I was like, I'm not coming back because I don't want to go just do a fetch quest right before the end of this section. So that was the point where I decided to just beeline to the end.
I was kind of waiting on you. You were doing that quest because someone you needed information from wanted you to get rid of the ghouls, and I was just gonna, kind of sit there and like help you through the quest, and then once it was done, I was just gonna tell you like, you didn't have to help them get into space. All that dude wanted was the ghouls gone. You could have just walked in and slaughtered all of them, and that still would have given you the ability to finish the quest. I think that's something I really like about New Vegas is that you can fail quests you didn't even know were possible, which encourages you to go back and play through and see if you can see what that quest you failed earlier was, or if you wanted to see if there's a different outcome to the quest.
And again, that's the strong parts of the RPG elements, is the freedom to approach it the way you want to, and there's no bad way to do it or like wrong way to do it because they have the ways laid out. So even just going in and murdering everybody would still have been an option. That's totally fine. I don't have a problem with that at all. I think those are good. It's just the general presentation of the game sort of ruins it a little. When I got to the strip, in order to get into the strip, you have to have credit of at least 2,000 caps. So my options were either have 2,000 caps from side missions and things I did, get a passport from one of the local gangs,
which you'd have to do side quests for, and
or gamble. So I was like, all right, fuck it. If I'm abandoning side quests at this point, I might as well just abandon it fully. So I spent like half an hour doing blackjack and losing for a while, but I eventually managed to rack up 2,000 coins. That was a little weird. Obviously, that was me sort of ruining the experience for myself because I decided not to do any side quests. It was just kind of ridiculous.
I think part of it also, like, you probably would have had more caps if you had done side quests on your way to New Vegas. I don't know if it would have been enough to get onto the strip, but it would have been a good amount towards that goal. And then the third option is if you have a really high science build, if you have a lot of points in your science skill, you can basically like just shout at the robots guarding the strip and they'll just let you in. And I actually think that Vegas, one of New Vegas's strengths is that dialogue skill checks aren't entirely governed by speech. Like I played KOTOR, I play it at least once or twice a year, and I really love the game, but all the dialogue speech checks are covered by speech. And so when I make a character, I'm always sinking a ton of points into speech because I always want to be able to pass a speech check. In New Vegas, if you want to do a character that's really fucking good at blowing shit up and you don't put a ton of points into speech, you're still going to fail a bunch of speech checks, but there are going to be others that you can pass that'll lead to interesting results, and so that adds the replayability.
That was going back to the original Fallouts, because a lot of the, I think you said the original Fallout developers worked with Obsidian for New Vegas, so they were able to sort of get back to that original style. That was a big part of Fallout 1 and 2, was the multiple choices and ways to solve problems depending on your character.
Yeah, whereas, and I recognize Skyrim isn't a Fallout game, but it's the other Bethesda RPG I've played. There's exactly one way to do things in Skyrim, and that usually involves walking into killing every you're the only left standing. And after a while, it gets kind of boring. So
I guess overall, to wrap it up, since at this point we're just kind of talking about random things, I would honestly recommend going and trying out Wasteland 3 to see how the genre has advanced with top-down RPGs with more modern stuff, because obviously Fallout 1 and 2 are a little majorly hard to get into at this point because they are so old and esoteric that you have to have like a 300-page manual to like figure out how to start the game.
From what I've heard, you don't understand Fallout 1's mechanics very well until after the first game, which is not a good way to teach the player how to do things. I would recommend New Vegas with a very big asterisk that it's not a great shooter, and a second very big asterisk that you're going to have bug problems.
Yeah, if you're going to play New Vegas, I mean, at this point, everybody knows New Vegas, so you either played it, watched someone play it, or are just never going to touch it. But, like, you need to know what you're getting into before you start, because if you go into it expecting more than what you get, you're going to have a bad time. And if you're someone like me who actively avoids these types of games for the reasons that people enjoy them, you're going to have a bad time. And so I know, obviously, people are going to not understand that I do casts for the audience. I don't do it for myself. So the reason I played this game was for a completely accurate summary. I didn't play it for my health. There's a reason I don't like this game and don't play it. And obviously that doesn't affect anyone else, so it shouldn't throw anybody into a rage that I don't like this game, but it will, so whatever.
Am I on your shit list for being the one who suggested it?
Oh, absolutely. If anybody doesn't know, Omega was the patron that suggested it that was then voted on by YouTube, so Omega is on my shit list. But completely accurate summary, I started it as a series to shit on games that I didn't like regardless of their quality. Now I've done games I do like. I enjoy the Halos and I enjoyed Titanfall, but there were plenty of games in there that people do enjoy that I did not enjoy, like Black Ops. I think that one was pretty divisive. A lot of people were like, you're an idiot. It's like, fuck you. You're not going to like my opinion on Modern Warfare either.
Oh, that's going to be a spicy...
Yeah. Fucking, oh my god, the comments on Gun.
Oh.
People are like, oh, this game is so good and hasn't aged a day. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the comments on the Half-Life video.
Well, Half-Life, we gave it a pretty, I wouldn't say glowing review, but I gave it a positive review.
But the whole level
qualified
change.
to review it?
Are we qualified to review Half-Life?
Yeah, like the way we played it, like were we qualified?
Yeah, I don't know. People will see. And so, yeah, no, I gave it the benefit of the doubt with the way that we played it.
Whatever we did, that was not Half-Life.
Yeah. If people don't like that, they're not going to like Half-Life 2 when we get to that. No spoilers for the people in the audience because they don't know what's up. If there's one thing I've learned from Completely Accurate Summary is that no matter how bad I think a game is, there is somebody who holds it as their fucking baby and feels offended that I don't like it. Like Battlefield Hardline. People are crawling out of the woodworks being like, oh, it's a great game. It's like, no. or Battlefield 3.
Think about how many people are still uploading videos with the title Battlefield Hardline. So the remaining 300 people who are still looking that up, they all have a new video.
Yeah. And like Battlefield 3, I get a lot of comments still where Battlefield 3 people are like, oh, this is one of the best FPS shooters of all time. It's like, I feel bad for you that you haven't played better games. And then I even got a couple of Halo 5 comments that were like, oh, this is just another one of those unoriginal shitting on Halo 5 because I think it's bad. It's like, well, because it is bad.
There are some games Will likes that I'm sure I'd find pretty bad, and
Oh yeah, no, if people want something to shit on me over, I love Kingdom Hearts 2. That's a game I think people can like rally against me on. I like that game so much.
No, I feel like that's pretty well respected.
Well, so it's like it's 50-50, right? There's like the people who play it and love it, and then there's everybody else who looks at it like crazy weeb shit because it's crazy weeb shit.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's an objectively awful story, but I love the gameplay, and I'll play it through every once in a while. I don't think I've told this story on Real Thoughts, but I played through Final Fantasy 15 because it was real-time combat like the Kingdom Hearts games, and I was like, oh, maybe I can recapture some of my childhood, and it was awful, and I hated it. And I gave up like 90% of the way through the game, and then got a PS2 emulator to play Kingdom Hearts 2 to see if it held up how I remembered. And it pretty much held up exactly how I remembered, jank and all, because I didn't look at it through rose-tinted glasses like it's the best game ever. Like I knew exactly what to expect out of it.
Will, you have to keep in mind that you had no ability to hit your triangle button.
No, I was playing.
He entirely. This is around when I first met him.
I was playing the game correctly. It was broken.
Yeah, so he had no ability to hit his triangle button. I'm gonna completely side with that. I'm sure he was probably hitting his triangle button. But it's a lot more fun to imagine that he was just missing his triangle button every time.
Yeah, the problem I was having with Final Fantasy 15 was that the dodge button didn't work ever.
Yeah, no, it was circle. It was circle. Yeah.
Like I don't know why.
So he just got hit by everything, and he was like, "It's so hard." And I'm like,
I had to just spend all my money on Phoenix Downs to like undie my way through boss fights because the dodge button was fucking broken.
That's the funniest.
Yeah, I couldn't do anything about that. Yeah, so that's what made it a miserable experience. Also, everybody sucks in that game. The second half of the game is like, oh yeah, let's make one of our characters blind and useless hindrance in combat. That's fun.
I'm gonna ride my chocobo all day.
Oh my god. And yeah, every time I'm just like driving around a highway and it's like, let's stop here and take a picture. It's like, no, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I just want to get to the next area. I really got to think about like what's the worst game that I enjoy playing, because I don't play a lot of games people would.
Two Worlds.
Two Worlds.
Mine is Two Worlds. Oh man. Okay, Two Worlds. Okay, so here we go. What year did Oblivion come out in? 2008.
I think Oblivion came out in like 2005.
Yeah,
whatever year Oblivion came out. So Two Worlds, this random, I forget what company it is, but they were like, okay, we need something to be the Oblivion killer. They were marketing it up against Oblivion, saying this was going to blow it out of the water.
Oh, I remember Two Worlds is the one where there's like the main bad guy that you can go kill at the beginning of the game,
yeah,
right?
and everyone's seen that speed run where they come in the first like 2 minutes.
Okay, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
So this game comes out. It is supposed to be the Oblivion killer. It's supposed to be this phenomenal thing. It is a garbage RPG, but it was also one of the first like full 3D RPGs I ever played, and I loved it when I was like 10. And yeah,
maybe I don't know if people consider Ubisoft games like generic trash, but like I loved Ghost Recon Wildlands. I played so much of Ghost Recon Wildlands. I don't know if people consider that a garbage game or not. It is pretty much garbage, but it's got enough good stuff on top of it that I really enjoyed playing it. And the 4-player co-op stuff is so much fun. And it's just got that right amount of Ubisoft jank sprinkled on top of it that it's always unpredictable what will happen. So many things related to helicopters, I noticed. Helicopters are complete nightmares in Wildlands.
Actually, my favorite bad game is fucking Spore. That game's combat is terrible. The graphics are ugly as hell.
Love Spore.
Huh?
I love Spore.
I think a lot of people love Spore despite the fact that it's garbage.
Yeah,
because I love Spore too, but man, is that not a good game.
I could still.
It's garbage, but it's
a couple years ago.
But it's garbage that you get to sculpt. I guess is the best way of saying it.
It's my own garbage.
Okay. So name me 3 other games where you can be a penis monster that conquers the universe.
Oh, I never ever do anything in the space stage because like that game is so garbage that people skip. Like I don't know how long the space stage is supposed to last, but like assuming like all the stages last the same amount of time.
Space stage is nigh infinite.
Yeah, but like if all the stages take up the same amount of time, then that would mean like people that like nobody finishes or nobody plays like a good 20% of the game. Like they make it there and then they just stop.
It's just so nostalgic for me. I think overall it's like it fell way short of all the promises that Maxis originally made about it. But I really enjoyed it. Like it had a lot of charm, especially for younger kids, but just being able to make your monster and have all these weird things Yeah,
And I
Evolve was really poorly received at first, but then it became amazing.
Oh yeah, somebody mentioned Evolve. Evolve was great. Yeah, the reboot they did,
That game was phenomenal, and then they
and
were
then it
like,
died.
hey,
Yeah.
as soon as so both of us, we got way into it. It was so fun. I really, really enjoyed that. We had a group of 3 or 4, whatever it was, and I think Will and I were having a great time. And then they're like, oh, by the way, in a month we're turning the servers off.
We were like, what? No!
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if it counts as something people count as garbage, but GTA Online, I love GTA Online, despite the fact that it's probably one of the worst monetization methods I've seen in a game. That isn't just like a straight up gacha game. I think Far Cry 5 is pretty divisive on whether or not people find it good. I've been playing through it with Kevin from Junkyard Digs and actually really enjoying Far Cry 5.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was way better than 4. I wouldn't consider it mediocre at all.
Well, okay, somebody just said Far Cry 5 isn't bad, it's just mediocre as shit. You're playing a Ubisoft game. When you boot up a Ubisoft game, you are under the understanding that it's going to be mediocre as shit. But if you know that that's what you're going for, you can have a great time. Because I love a lot of Ubisoft games. I love Rainbow Six Siege. I love, as I said, Far Cry 5, Ghost Recon Wildlands. I even like Ghost Recon Breakpoint after they did the non-looter shooter version of the game. They added a mode where you don't have to have the looter shooter elements, so it makes it like Ghost Recon Wildlands. And if one person owns Ghost Recon Breakpoint, you can invite 3 friends to play with you without owning the game, and you can play through it fully. That was going to be a temporary thing, but then they made it permanent, as far as I know.
That's actually really nice.
And so that's awesome. You can have 4 friends playing, and 3 people don't have to fucking own it. I also love the Watch Dogs games. Watch Dogs 2, I don't like the first one very much, but mechanically it was interesting. Yeah, Ubisoft Jank is my favorite gameplay mechanic in every Ubisoft game. Because it's not Bethesda levels of game-breaking bugs most of the time. It's just something that makes you go, what the fuck is going on? I know we're not even talking about Fallout anymore, but I don't care. This is more fun.
For you, it's more fun than playing the game.
I know XCOM Chimera Squad was sort of lukewarm received, and I know that's probably a game that not a lot of people have heard of. I like XCOM Chimera Squad a lot, and I honestly think that I like the turn order thing that they do in Chimera Squad better than XCOM 2, and that's going to get me vilified in the XCOM community, but fuck you, I like it.
I know Humankind's gotten a lukewarm response, but I'm playing through it and I'm kind of enjoying it.
Did it? I had heard positive things about that.
It's got like
It's Civilization by a different company.
It's got 3 stars on Game Pass, and I think it's about the same on Steam. Like, it's not radically different from Civ 5. I did have to play through the tutorial a couple of times to fully understand all this they've made, but it's not like you're hopping from, like, I don't know what's really comparable. Civ 5 and Humankind are like the only 4X games I've played.
What's another shit game? I know there was some kind of crappy PS3 game that I wanted you guys to play when I was in college.
Will, when do we get a cast of Bloons TD6? It's $2 right now.
Bloons Tower Defense? Yeah, great. I'll hop right on that.
Homefront was something you constantly ragged on.
No, Homefront was one of the original casts that I ended up having to scrap because of, like, it wouldn't work on my PC.
Yep.
I want to eventually go back to Homefront because it's literally just, let's rip off the movie Red Dawn, except do it poorly. Yeah, it was back when I was still adjusting to PC, so I was a console kid for a long time. So I was trying to play with my controller, but like the controller binds were all messed up in Homefront. So like if I tried to walk forwards, it would pan my camera down. If I tried to shoot, it would immediately reload my gun. Like it was completely unplayable. I don't know what the fuck was going on. I still have that video floating around somewhere. I might have to.
I just released that with no context.
I might have to do that. Let me bring. I've got this box under my bed with the game.
Oh no, that's where he keeps the old hard drives.
The old hard drives and the old socks.
Yeah.
Feel bad. Good. Oh man, Gauntlet. Fucking love that game for the PS2. I don't think that was a bad game. It's an old top-down like dungeon crawler beat 'em up.
Oh god, yeah. I had GameFly for a while. I actually got Pokemon Platinum from GameFly, and I bought it out from them for like $15 extra. And that was like, I don't know, 8 months before it started getting incredibly popular because they stopped producing it. So it cost me, I guess, $35 to get it.
Oh hey, Fallout fans, if you want more fuel to the fire for things to shit on me about, the only 2 games I've ever pre-ordered were Destiny 1 and The Division. and they were both god awful.
What if I pre-ordered probably my biggest disappointment, but not that big of a disappointment, was Modern Warfare 3. I got the special edition of that. I pre-ordered Borderlands 2. Good fucking choice.
I know a lot of people like Borderlands 2. I played 40 minutes of it, and I absolutely fucking hate that game.
I'm impressed that you managed to hate it that much from 40 minutes, but okay.
It's bad. I know we were.
I understand not liking it and being bored, but like I've never heard anyone have like hatred.
I know y'all
It killed my dog.
Yeah,
It killed my dog. It came to my house and shot my dog. Fuck you, Randy Pitchford.
Megan, if you ever need to talk, like we have 8 people listening, we can have a little therapy session.
Well, speaking of which, fuck Randy Pitchford, just in general.
Yeah.
I know y'all were shitting on the
Randy Savage?
No, the UI in New Vegas because like of how bad it was, and like how you had to. Yeah, Borderlands 2 is worse. Like
Borderlands 2 does have some pretty bad UI.
It's a pretty bad UI, but it's simpler than that. Yeah.
I don't think it's worse.
And also, like, the shooting, it's not great. The character's immediately annoying. And the only thing I can compliment the game on is the fact that it looks unique. It's cel-shaded. So if I were to see a picture of a game, I know immediately that's Borderlands, but I don't want to touch the game ever again. If Will ends up doing a completely accurate summary of it, I am not playing through that.
And I wouldn't expect it, but like, I don't know. I mean,
I would probably eventually do Borderlands for a completely accurate summary.
Yeah, like playing it by yourself is miserable, but I don't like any kind of game like that. Like I struggle to see any way to not enjoy it when you're playing with friends because it's not really about the game, It's like, just having a good time.
The other game that I don't like that's going to be pretty controversial is I don't like Dead Space. Not in a hate way, I don't find it fun. I think it's kind of boring.
Looks like somebody in the audience agrees with you.
Yeah, like
I don't really enjoy horror games that much anyways, so I just find it like, oh, woo, another jump scare. Cool.
I actually did play Alien Isolation, and that shit was so
I
bad. I have
phenomenal.
not gone back since. Like
I got lost. Austin wanted me to play Alien Isolation, and I got lost.
He got lost, and but then every time he went back to this one corridor, there's a hanging wire that's very obviously going to hurt him, and he walked under it like 6 times to the point where he was at like 1 health, and it was killing me. He just
So I never finished. I never even saw the Alien in Isolation. I got lost really fucking early.
No, you went back and you got to where you see it the first time. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, did I? Oh, okay.
I got to the point where like the alien reveals itself, and then like it was basically then where like I quit the game because like I was shaking with fear. Like
Alien Isolation is a pretty cool fucking game because basically the more AI you have in a game, the dumber you have to make them because that takes a lot of processing power. So with Alien Isolation, they were like, all right, we're gonna have basically one AI, and it's gonna be really fucking good because they can put so much processing power into this alien. And so it's like one of the best artificial intelligences in a game in the past like 20 years.
Well, it's essentially 2 brains. You have this omniscient, all-seeing brain that constantly knows where you are at all times. It keeps track of what you tend to do. Do you tend to go in lockers? Do you tend to go under tables a lot? And it feeds information to the dum-dum brain of what the actual alien is. So it's basically sitting there like playing like hot and cold with the dum-dum brain. And it's incredible how reactive it is. It's terrifying.
Also, in terms of terrifying games, I can't remember if I touched on this when we re-recorded Half-Life or not, but Half-Life Alyx is terrifying, like legitimately.
Mm-hmm. I think you did. Yeah.
Half-Life and Half-Life 2 head crabs are just a joke. They're like these little potato things. You just smack them around, whatever. Well, in Half-Life Alyx, because it's VR, their actual size...
You go to the size of your fucking head?
These are big enough to fit over your fucking head.
Yeah.
It's so terrifying to have that thing jump at you, and like barnacles are like 4 or 5 feet long with these long gross tongues, and like when you shoot them and like blood pours out of them all over the place, it's like, what the fuck? This is so scary. it's I think a lot of people haven't played Alyx, so I won't like spoil anything obviously, but it's, if you ever get a chance to play it, it's so good and so terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say Beat Saber is a great game, but I wouldn't say it's the best VR game because it's so simple. It's a great experience, but it doesn't take enough advantage of VR. Alex is by far the best VR like game experience, whatever you want to call it.
Beat Saber is definitely a good workout. Whenever we'd play Beat Saber, we were all drenched in sweat.
Yeah.
That was
I
a
had,
great time.
there was a VR lab my friends and I we went to several times. We went there once for a friend's birthday, and like basically the only game we played there was Beat Saber because we just found it so fun. It was just, and like we got the most fun out of like watching other people play because they looked fucking ridiculous. And so one of my friends, like he's in like we've got multiple rooms rented out because like it's a friend's birthday and such, and there's a bunch of us. And so one friend had been going at it for a while, so like we kind of peek in to see how he's doing. He's shirtless and he's basically like farms like a chicken, and it's just it was hilarious.
Wait, something Danson?
Oh, Carmel Donson?
Carmel
Did
Danson.
I
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
I thought that was
A
Tyler.
fucking weeps.
No, wait, no. That was Tyler. Wait.
There are a couple of games in Beat Saber that actually are really funny because they make you do the dance. And so our roommate Tyler didn't know Carmel Donson, and he was struggling with the game, or struggling with the song until we taught him how to do Carmel Donson. And then we just sat there watching him do the Carmel Donson. He also had to do, you have to do the crab rave to get crab rave done. So you sit there doing like the clap, 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 crouching and leaning and stuff. And that was really funny. They also make you do Gangnam Style.
I can't think of the song that you kept trying to do because you kept doing like not windmills, but like kind of windmills.
Oh god, I don't remember. I honestly don't. The only song I can remember really enjoying was they had a custom version of Maxwell's Silver Hammer.
Wait. Levon Poker? Levon Polka? Is that what it is?
I can't remember how to
say it.
pronounce that. Ivankin Polka or something like that.
Wait, let me Google this.
I don't think I did that one.
I feel like that was what. Hang on, I have to listen.
I like how this is not even anywhere near
Remotely
Fallout New
relevant.
Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it all in though. I'm gonna keep this into the real thoughts because I think it's entertaining.
Okay.
But like half the real thoughts was New Vegas and half of it was anything else.
You can play New Vegas in VR though. It's a fucking pain.
Don't play anything by Bethesda in VR. The amount of jank in that is just basically unplayable. I could edit this into a separate side video, but I won't.
I know people are going to give you shit, increasing your walking speed, but that's necessarily something.
Yeah. If we want to get back to New Vegas, I said about 99% of it, I played vanilla. I set my walking speed to 200% because 90% of my playthrough was walking through the desert and fucking nothing going on. So I might as well just make it faster.
Oh, wait, do we want to just, you could just end the video. Like, you end the video, like, we're like, what, 15, 20 minutes in, however long actual Fallout thoughts took. Have it fade to black, and then have it go up to this and be like, Willie, also community thoughts, question mark, maybe?
Oh, well, I'll put time markers so they know it's like the chapter markers or whatever, so people will know when New Vegas Real Thoughts ends and we just get into random shit. Because I think a lot of the Real Thoughts end up a little bit irrelevant. This is by far the most irrelevant Real Thoughts we've ever done.
That section of the chapters, you should just put it as like 5 question marks.
This is this is the community ending. This is our special ending to Fallout.
Do we all sing together now? Is that what happens?
Dude, I love to sing. I'm bad at singing, but I still love to sing. A lot of my old YouTube videos, which are no longer available, for various reasons, mostly stemming to there's a lot of bad words, so I hid them all to just, I may eventually go through them one day, whatever. There pretty much in every video, there was just like an obligatory singing section where we all try to sing a song together, but there's just enough lag through Discord that it's just complete nonsense. There is also tons of music references in Completely Accurate Summary, the most of which was in Black Ops. I put so many music references in Black Ops that I don't even remember all of them anymore. Yeah, there was a horse with no name in Halo 3. I remember that one. But there's definitely a ton. I still think the best joke in Black Ops was that I am the walrus Kukukachube like reveal, because it was set up just like how they do the setups in game in Black Ops for like hints that what's his face isn't real. I cannot remember his Reznov, yeah. That Reznov isn't real. So then I was able to get those story beats and just have the walrus show up, and it's like it perfectly crescendoed right there at the end. And I know so many people in the comments were so happy with it too. Karaoke night? I don't think I ever want to do a karaoke night for... Oh, here's another thing we could talk about. I can plug my Discord server. I have a Discord server. I know a lot of people don't look at community posts. I've put out 2 community posts and people have joined in because of those. But yeah, you should totally join the Discord server if we can get it up to like an actual like community, and I can get some benefits for that. We do community games. We've done Jackbox, we've done Gartic Phone. I fucking love Gartic Phone. We could get some other things together like that. I would love to attempt a game that is not meant to be, shut up, don't say it, no, delete that comment, that's spoilers. Yeah, there you go, thank you. It's not recorded in the thing anyways, so nobody saw it. The server link to my Discord server is always in the description of every YouTube video. I would love to play through games that require, I would love to play through A Hat in Time with like 50 people, because A Hat in Time, I love A Hat in Time, and that has 50 player co-op for like no good reason, because it completely breaks the game. Yeah, it completely destroys the game. They were like, oh, we could do co-op for like 3 or 4 players, but we'll do 50 because like it doesn't work, but it's fun. I want to do that. Any other games that we can do like big community game co-op moments and break it? I would love to get like a full lobby of like Grand Theft Auto together to do a bunch of adversary modes or something like that, because those are a lot of fun. I love doing sumo.
I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, I know you really don't like the game, but it would be interesting to see like how many people you could shove into No Man's Sky and have on like one planet before the game starts breaking.
Like No Man's, like there's a lot of stuff we could do, like No Man's Sky, Minecraft, Terraria.
Yeah.
Doing a completely accurate summary of Minecraft while like everybody is trying to actively stop me would be kind of fun. or maybe everybody's actively helping me out. That would be more fun than, yeah, exactly, helping. Fuck the Doomsday heists in GTA Online. I fucking hate those. They're so bad. We did a Doomsday heist once and it took us an entire day. It took us like 6 hours to get through the whole entire thing. And that last heist, the second half of it, was the hardest part because we just kept dying. It took us like 3 hours to get through just that second half. Fucking awful. Oh yeah, also another reason to join the Discord server is I put all the games I'm going to be playing for a completely accurate summary on a list. So there's a bunch of maybe I'll play these games I'm currently playing, games I played and I'm editing, that kind of thing.
Completely accurate summary of Undertale would be...
I would do that, but I am afraid of the community that would come.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
and
toxic group you don't want to get messed with.
yeah, and
I am doing Left 4 Dead right now. That playthrough is cursed because my schedules with guys that I'm doing it with are completely messed up. Should I even mention what games I'm eventually going to play, or is that like spoilers for people? I'm not like making it a secret.
Cassian, I appreciate you editing your comment to tell them in order to see the schedule, you have to join the Discord.
You have to join the Discord. Join the Discord. This episode is sponsored by my Discord. Join the Discord. Also, while we're talking about me, would people be interested in merch? Because like I don't know how big you have to get to offer merch and like people buy it and wear it, but like I would totally be down to design some t-shirts, and it could be subtle things like just a t-shirt that says trust me, or like a purple polo that says trust me.
Sure. You don't need high cost stuff. You don't need to put a lot of money into it to start up. So many print on demand manufacturers make it like, yes, you could probably make more if you establish, that you were going to get a few hundred orders, and doing a batch like directly from a manufacturer.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to make any cringy t-shirts that would out you as like, this is a YouTuber.
yeah, that's
the only channel jokes I would probably just do were trust me, and then with absolutely no problems whatsoever. One of the ones I was thinking about doing was like a shirt with a breast pocket, and then my icon, like my little avatar in the breast pocket, like he's sitting in the breast pocket being angry. I don't know if people would wear that.
You could even have something like a shirt with just like almost like, when a game shows you like a random crowd talking and it's all like little speech bubbles, you could have that with like the different ways that people attempt and miserably fail at saying your name.
Oh yeah, that would be funny. I could have 2 different versions of that, like one that's just will e ah so, and then a one that's just all the wrong ways to say it.
Yeah, but like some of them have question marks, some of them have exclamation points. They're not really sure, but they're confident.
My all-time favorite mispronunciation of my name is Wasal.
Wilsasso is my favorite. Yeah.
Because like where do you come up with Wasal? Like that is number one, you're ignoring a ton of letters before then, and then just like adding a bunch of letters at the end. I've heard pretty much every way that you pronounce my name wrong, besides like creating new names. Like obviously you could come up with like weird punny versions of my name, but like Williso.
I really like Wilsacio. I heard that once.
Wilsacio, yeah. I've heard Williamson. Wilcio, I have heard. I also hear Willieso, which is close.
I guess they tried,
And at least is all the letters. Willieasso is the correct way to say it, and Willieasso is acceptable.
Willieasso.
Yeah, I've heard that plenty of times. My username is like my real life name, and that I've heard every single pun somebody can come up with it. And like, if I were to hear a pun I haven't heard, I would be surprised. I was about to say I would pay them, but I would not pay anybody. Yeah, you know what? If anybody's still watching at this point, an hour and a half into this video, if you can come up with a pun that I haven't heard about Willie Osso, I will pin it in the comment section. Community talk nights, that would be interesting. I could put like videos out of community talk nights. It's basically just like a weekly Q&A, but we don't actually have questions and answers. We just talk about whatever.
For Patreon or something, you could even make a tier of like different tiers for getting access. Obviously, you'd have to watermark them and everything, but some of your art assets, maybe.
Yeah, I usually throw my art into the Patreon channel for them to use whatever. Like,
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, because if anyone wanted to use that as like a background or something, yeah.
I mean, it's not like they're gonna sell it or anything like that. Yeah.
It's a lot of it's like in progress art though, so don't think you can.
Well, I'll post the finals too.
Yeah, but like you can
Yeah.
post the final, like the YouTube thumbnails, but without the without the actual titles. Yeah, and you could post a version with title, without the title. Just have art and background.
It'd be interesting to sell them as pins too, but I'm not even sure I'm allowed to because they're like copyrighted material.
So
Yeah.
usually, pins are pretty easy to get past, but the problem is actually printing enamel pins, because that's a little tougher to get into. It would be fucking awesome though. It wouldn't be that hard. You just need to figure out
Yeah, especially because my style is pretty. It's vector style, so it's easy to resize.
that stuff works great. Thick lines makes for easy pins.
What do you think sets good game mechanics apart from bad ones? If they're easy to understand and rewarding to do. Let's finish this first, and I can go into a Q&A and make that like a separate video. So randomly now, let's wrap it up. How do we wrap this up? Oh, what did I do? What song did I sing for the wrap up of Doom Eternal? It was like, I don't know how to end this thing. I don't know. It's the I don't know how to end this Real Thoughts song.
You can end it with a knock knock joke.
End it with a knock knock joke.
That's always an option. Yeah.
Oh, here's my favorite knock knock joke, but you have to start, Omega, okay?
Okay. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Wait, why do I have to start?
In the same vein, my favorite question to There Are No Stupid Questions is, why does glass taste like blood? If we're gonna go for more dumb things, the word bed in lowercase is shaped like a bed.
A bed for a very small person. It's like a child's bed.
Somebody just typed in the comments, bed. Yeah! If you've made it this far into the video, type bed in the comments section and make it very confusing for anyone who hasn't. Bead! It's a bed for tall people.
People are gonna think like, wow. He may not have liked the gameplay of Fallout New Vegas, but he sure has a lot to say about
He
the
sure has a
story.
lot to say about Fallout New Vegas. No.
No.
Bed.
I am having a lot of fun. I'm having more fun in this Real Thoughts than I have in any of the others.
Is this really real thoughts?
No.
They
are
are
these?
real thoughts, just not about New Vegas.
But yeah, if you guys are interested in like a weekly community questions night where it's like a Q&A where I like grab a bunch of people, throw them into Discord and they ask questions, like I'd totally be down to do this and talk about things like what I like and dislike about random games. Because I could even talk about like thoughts on games that I wouldn't play for a completely accurate summary. Because I could do like people don't really watch Real Thoughts as much as Cass, but I know there are some people who I'm burping. There are some people who like to watch the Real Thoughts as much as completely accurate summary. So if people wanted, and instead of just making a full Real Thoughts on games I didn't do Casses for, just having like a community questions night where I talk about a couple of random games and not go super in depth on what I like or hate about them would be fun. Because there's so many games I want to talk about. I want to fucking talk about XCOM 2. I love XCOM 2. Ask me about XCOM 2. This is no longer relevant to Real Thoughts, so I'm going to end the video here. Any final words for the third time?
Yeah, Fallout with blackjack and hookers.
Yeah, Fallout with blackjack and hookers.
But be aware that you're getting into a game that may not be fun to play, and it will crash on you at some point.
Oh, no. Don't make a summary. Don't summarize. We don't need a summary at the end of Real Thoughts. We have completely accurate summary for that. Just throw out a random opinion and we'll end it there. What's your favorite NPC for Fallout New Vegas?
Weirdly enough, the guy who wins the lottery.
Which I didn't even meet.
Yeah, because you took the wrong way into town.
My favorite NPC from Fallout New Vegas, I found out wasn't even from Fallout New Vegas. It was from Fallout 3. And it is the Vault of Gary. worries. What about you, Austin? What's your favorite NPC from Fallout New Vegas?
Probably the stupid crazy what was the super fancy glowing one who lived up on his own? Child of
Jason,
Adam,
right? What?
Is that the Child of Adam? Is that who he is, or is that Fallout 4? I don't remember.
That's Fallout 4.
I think that's Fallout 4.
Oops.
So, in summary, Omega's favorite Fallout New Vegas NPC is from Fallout New Vegas. Mine is from Fallout 3, and Austin's is from Fallout 4. Thank you for watching this Real Thoughts. This is a mess. Special thanks to my patrons for supporting the channel. If you want to support the channel as well, you'll get your own custom avatar that'll go at the end of the videos that you help support that month.